Hi there, ho there, hello there, and gracious good morning to you. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Certainly some interesting and exciting things went on this past week that we'll review and cover a little bit, and certainly still some questions out there about some things going on, but we'll get into all that and a little bit more. You never really know with this show. And this crew we've got in here today, Case is not with us because he is preparing for some kind of work related deal next week and did the article and basically had to devote the rest of his day to that. So, we'll miss him, but we do have Daryl, we do have Jeff, we do have Jared, and we have me, Paulie. So, a good foursome in here today to bring you the show. Let's go ahead and just kind of catch up with the crew as we like to do at the start of the show. Jeff and I were talking a little bit earlier about some things, and he and I were kind of discussing the fact that it looks like there's going to be a lot of confusion for fans when they take a look at the Louisville softball schedule. Men saying, "Wait a second, Miami of Ohio was down here for their own tournament. What's going on here? What's going on, Jeff?"
Yeah, it's a bit bizarre. So I think Jared's going to get into a little bit of that with scheduling that he does here in a minute. But it's a, kind of a jointly hosted thing a little bit. But I think it's primarily Miami, but we've got a hand in it, and so we got people, moving between here and I don't know where is Miami. Oh, it's basically outside of Columbus, right? Um,
Kind of
between
in
the
the
two,
southeastern part of the state down there,
like
Oxford.
that. Yeah, I don't actually know where it is. So
I've actually been there, but I don't remember how I got there. How does that
yeah,
sound?
yeah, yep, I believe it. I've been there. Uh, yeah, so kind of have teams moving between them a little bit. We're heading up there today. We're probably headed up there late yesterday, and just outside of Dayton, I guess. Um, no, that's Miami County. Never mind.
No, you need to go up to Cincinnati and then you take State Highway 27 up to Oxford. It's close to the Indiana Ohio border, if that helps.
Oh, it's in. Okay, so the school name is Miami, but it's in Oxford, Ohio. Okay, I didn't recognize that. So, all right. Anyway, yeah, I was looking for a city named Miami, Ohio, but yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Well, it is on ACC Network Extra up there, which is nice. Normally Miami, I think, is on ESPN Plus, so it's kind of nice that ACC Network Extra is picking it up for us, so we can watch it a little easier. So that's good to know.
It's indeed, and the Cards will be facing, of course, number one in the land, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
in their game up there, a 4 o'clock game, which will be, I think, good experience for Louisville to go up against the top five program. Maybe Zabala will probably get the start. We'll see what happens with that one, Jared. I think that the Cards will definitely go into this with eyes wide open, looking to see what they can do against a very talented Sooner club.
Yeah, I'm not uh, gonna concern myself with a single game against Oklahoma too much, but we'll get into that later in the show.
Should be some fun for anyway the Cards to see what happens up there. Daryl in the house with us. Daryl's had a busy week. You've been down at U of L. You've been over to Slugger Field. Daryl, where haven't you been in this city?
Well, I don't know anymore. I'm losing track. But we made it for the show today, and we also have Lulu in the house. She would not let me just stay in my office alone. She just was meowing, and as soon as I open the door, she's just per motor. Like right now, she's upside down kitty, ready to talk about the cards.
she's she's definitely got some things to get off her mind, I suppose. Then, and if you can translate that later out for us, that would be great. I'm not sure what all we're going to hear, but it could be fun. As for me, it's just another kind of week of going through the motions and doing some things. And certainly, uh, I've been trying to follow some of the events going on with this transfer portal and women's basketball. We've seen some things pop up there that the Cards have gotten one new player for the women's side in there, and there's rumors about all other kinds of players on campus and stuff like that. It really just depends on who you talk to And since I don't get down there too much anymore, I haven't seen anybody. And Jeff Walls basically goes incommunicado this time of year. He won't
Isn't he
discuss anything.
skiing? Doesn't he usually do like a ski trip after the season's over?
I haven't seen anything about him making that trip yet.
He's been a bit busy with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I'm saying the portal's probably preempted any type of shushing down the slopes he might do, I guess. Unless, of course, he's out in Colorado recruiting kids. Then that could play in. I don't know.
I don't know. Are there any other Shooks that we could, Kylie Shook sisters?
I did see
That'd
that
be nice.
Kylie has relanded, guys. She's
Yeah?
going to be with the Phoenix Mercury
Nice.
out there with Liz Dixon and Brittany Griner. Gee, I wonder which center will get the starting nod there. And I wonder if all three will make the final cut. That could be interesting to see a Phoenix team that's got Tarasi and two Cardinals. Wow, that could be fun.
Isn't Skylar Diggins out there too?
If I remember correctly, yes, but I just looked at the schedule in passing the other day and was looking to see if Liz was actually on their schedule listing, for their practice schedule roster. She was, and I looked at it a little further, like, Kylie Shook's on the roster? How about that? All right. So her year off, she's come back, I guess, and is ready to roll and play some hoops. So let's hope that works out well for her, because I always like Kylie. The time of the show where we normally get into a little scheduling, and we haven't been doing Twitter lately, so I'm just going to call it scheduling information with Jared Anderson, who's got that stuff pulled up. I'm going to leave Twittering up to you, Gerald. You can optionally do that if you want or not.
Well, the schedule's long enough that we may need a full hour just to hit that. So buckle in as we go over a lot. We'll start with this morning, some swim events, more of a Team USA thing going on up in Illinois, kind of an all-day affair. Women's golf ACC championships round out with the semifinals today. UofL did not make that cut, unfortunately, so their ACC tournament has concluded. Day 2 of 2 at the Jim Freeman Louisville Invitational at Card Park is going on actually right now for track and field. I did confirm there's only 6 teams for this one. The big invitational will be later on down the road. Women's soccer's got a spring exhibition going on about noon today, right as we're getting off air. That'll be against Michigan State. Should be free admission over there at Lynn Stadium for that one. We've got a few other track and field members that are down at the Tom Jones Memorial down in Gainesville, Florida. Louisville Lacrosse wraps up their home season senior day against Duke today at 1 o'clock. Hoping to find maybe a bright spot after a pretty rough season here. Louisville baseball, game 2 of their series against number 2 Wake Forest. They had their biggest crowd last night since 2019 Super Regionals. Great crowd. They're looking to even that series up. We've got softball is at a neutral site against number 1 Oklahoma. It's going to be up in Oxford, Ohio, against hosted by Miami, Ohio, who the Cards run-ruled yesterday at Ulmer Stadium here in Louisville. I know it's a little confusing. Volleyball has a spring exhibition tonight as well. Close out their spring season at 6 against Tennessee. Free admission. Those seats are first come, first serve. If they fill up, they will turn people away. Field hockey's got a couple spring exhibitions on the road against some Big Ten opponents today. So busy. Plenty to do if you're into any sports at all. We'll go ahead and move on to tomorrow, still on the same weekend. Women's tennis will have their senior day against Syracuse, 11:30 a.m. at the Bass Road Tennis Center, free admission. Softball returns home. They're going to play Oakland University here at Ulmer Stadium for a doubleheader starting at 1 o'clock. Second game should start approximately 30 minutes after the conclusion of the first. Baseball concludes their series against Wake Forest at 1 o'clock. Men's tennis also have their senior day at Bass Road tomorrow as well. That gets us at least through the weekend. So busy, we're going to go on and take Monday off. Nothing going on there. Baseball have a midweek series, battle of the border with Indiana Tuesday. Women's tennis ACC championships do begin this coming Wednesday. UofL is pretty much locked in to play the opening day, not having recorded a win in ACC play yet. And then softball will have a Wednesday night game against Western Kentucky. That's going to be down in Bowling Green, 7 o'clock Eastern time start, so that'll be a 6 o'clock start time down there in Bowling Green. Louisville lacrosse wraps up their regular season on Thursday at Notre Dame up in South Bend. It's a 7 p.m. start, so I have to assume they're going to play over there at their football stadium for lighting purposes. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Moving on to Friday, another busy weekend. Track and field will head up to Bloomington for the Indiana Invitational. We see more swim events. Men's golf will have their ACC championships as women's golf has concluded this weekend. Rowing is back in action down in Raleigh, North Carolina. Baseball's on the road at Duke. Softball's on the road at Virginia. Busy weekend coming up as well. And then by the time we get to next Saturday, rowing have already started that morning, and everything else won't start until later on in that day. So there's your busy couple weekends with spring sports happening and some fall sports getting in on the action too.
Absolutely. So we've got the full spring slate out there, and then the crossover fall sports that are participating in the spring events, and everything's going on. The only thing we didn't see in there is basketball. It seems like, huh? How about that? So
It's recruiting season for them. So
That's all in the
can add
transfer
that
portal.
instead.
yeah, and that is in a different realm of society, but it is going on right now, and we will get into a little bit of that today as the Cards have been busy in the portal, making some contacts, inviting a couple players in as we've talked about, and maybe that's as good a place anywhere, I guess, to start out. Daryl, we've all been watching the portal closely to see uh, how the Walls is going to strike back, to use an old Star Wars term, after losing Haley Van Lith, and he's gotten some pretty decent players in here. I'd have to think. Wouldn't you agree here?
Yeah, I think it's been said that we switched out the HVL for the HVS.
Yep.
We like to focus on the joy and excitement of U of L women's sports, so we'll not harp on the bummers that happen. But just take things as they come, and I've said it before, in Walls we trust. So if Walls thinks that somebody's qualified to join our roster and will gel with the team and provide some assistance to get the team further than they had the previous year, let's do it. So looking forward to checking out the new players. It's going to be crazy to see this roster when the fall comes around, because it's just going to look a lot different. We'll have some few key pieces, but it's crazy how different it's going to look.
And so I'm going to ask you if you know how to handle this. Is it Henny or Heine Van?
I really
Striker?
hope it's Penny.
Yeah, Heine Van Schatting. I'm just having trouble with the pronunciation on this one here. We'll see how the team handles it. I hope it's Henny also.
Let me do some Googling on pronunciations. Give me a second.
Oh, okay, very good. What was their old school? They probably have one in there, Cal State Bakersfield.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good point.
They might have a pronunciation guide for her there. Or maybe they just call her HVS. That would make more sense to me if I was doing play-by-play. But she is a 6'3" post who had a couple of seasons with the Roadrunners out there. I love the nickname. They will be the Cards will be bringing her in to kind of shore up that front line a little bit. I'm not really sure. She had a pretty decent sophomore season from what I can see here. 11 points, 7 rebounds a game. She is from the Netherlands and also a member of the Dutch national women's team. So,
yeah, and I like she has a few years left in her. I feel like the last couple transfers we've picked up, besides Liz and Balagoon a few years back, we've only had a year to get out of them. So, give us a couple years to work with her. I like the potential.
absolutely so. And it's a player who will be up there with what looks like a pretty strong front line so far. When you've got Olivia Cochran, obviously back, Alexis Mobley, healthy and ready and raring to go. Nyla Harris returns, a very, very good front liner as a freshman for the Cards. She'll join that crew.
A little bit more experience. She's going to be amazing too.
Exactly, yeah, that's my agreement as well. Marissa Russell, I think you could call a guard more than a front line player, although
She's a big guard.
she's definitely played the three and also a little small forward as well. But then you've got Aaliyah Love, who came in from Georgia Tech back in January.
That I forgot about. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Jayla Curry, who we got just a little bit before HVS came on board. So what was it slowly building this roster back to what it is? I don't know, Jeff. Maybe you can tell me. Maybe you've got more insight on this, Jared. What else are we looking for here to fill this roster out? A point guard? I mean, let's chip in, guys and gals.
Oh, plenty of players. Which there's lots of rumors of different players, that may come to Louisville. There's been Kiki Jefferson from JMU is confirmed to be on a visit this weekend. Supposedly narrowed down to us and UNC, according to a few reports. Don't know the validity to that part. It's another guard. Would be great to pick up. There's been some rumors, nothing confirmed, that Louisville would be interested in Jewel Spear from Wake Forest if she does transfer out, and I'm sure there's in the works a couple more players. There was a small point guard from Georgetown that actually I kind of liked a lot, but I don't know if Louisville's going to pursue her because word on the street is her and her brother, who plays men's basketball up there, would be a kind of like a 1-2 deal where it's either all or nothing. There's the 6'7" Stanford player that I'd like to see come to Louisville. I think Louisville was on her original list in her recruiting period out of high school, but I haven't heard anything if she has expressed interest in here or vice versa. But just some players I'd be interested in. I think we need to add probably 3-4 more players to the roster right now, especially if Walls wants to continue his run and gun, high speed style of play.
Looking at a roster currently, I think if you could call it 7 players. Daryl, I don't know. I think maybe I'm looking at this list of what we got here. Do you see a true point guard in any of this? I really don't.
It's funny how our roster hasn't changed. I feel like they should update it as soon as we get news, such as number 10 leaving. But yeah, Walls definitely has some work to do to fill out this roster. We've got, man, I'm actually drawing a blank, y'all. Oh,
I don't think we've got a true point guard right now. I guess maybe Jada Curry.
I don't think you can count HVS as one. Jada Curry is more shooting guard, if I'm not mistaken on that.
I'm thinking she is too.
And I can't remember what Aaliyah Love.
Shooting guard.
What did Aaliyah Love play in at Georgia Tech before she got dismissed? I can't remember. Was she kind of a 2 guard as well, or?
I thought she played similar to Marissa Russell.
She's coming as kind of a 2 or 3, maybe guard wing.
I trust Marissa to run the position. Honestly, like y'all said, she would be considered a big guard, but her leadership for this team, I think, is going to go up a notch. I think it sucks that one of the players she was really close with decided to leave, but I still think that she'll take the opportunity to step up as a leader for the team and fill in whatever role Walls needs her to fill. She can hit from the outside. She could hit jumpers. She could get rebounds. I think she's quite the X factor for this team that's got a short roster right now, but we'll see how it fills out over the summer. I'm still going to look forward to the next year's team, and hopefully they can build on that Elite 8 run and get back to the Final Four.
We'll see what happens on it. I think one of the things that caught my interest, and this was a discussion I saw online a couple of days back, is yes, HVL is gone, moving on. A lot of people are kind of saying right now, well, you know where she's headed, don't you? Everybody should know where she's headed. And I'm like, no, perhaps you could give me some insight. Where is she headed? I have no idea. Everybody said, well, it's obvious she's going to go to Iowa. I'm like,
how is that obvious?
I don't know about that. Yeah, is that obvious? I don't see it as obvious. Do you?
I've heard
that's because
rumors and speculation, but Iowa is not one of them.
You know why it's obvious, guys? Because that's the only team anybody who's saying things like that can name. It's a shame. I don't think she's going anywhere to be second fiddle, which Iowa would be that place. I can't think of a reason. Um, and I'm treading lightly. I don't know the reason why she would leave Louisville. It's not like Louisville. It is out of the conversation of being able to win a title. It's not like she's not making a good amount of NIL money here. It's got to be something else that we're just not. It's not in our face. I hope it's nothing. That's awful. Like just some players will leave and go to somewhere else to be closer to family who might be ill. I hope it's nothing like that. It could be though. It's just one of those things that you don't know all the reasons. But I don't see her going to Iowa. I don't see her going to LSU because I think it's just too. I don't want to say too easy. It's not easy to win a title, but LSU coming off a title, Iowa coming off the Caitlin Clark show, I don't see her fitting into those narratives. Even like a UConn or anywhere on the East Coast. I don't want to see her on the East Coast. I want her to go out west, go home, enjoy your last year, whatever you got going on. I hope she finds what she's looking for.
You're pretty much out of sight, out of mind there. We'll see you later.
Daryl, I kind of my assumption and guesses, which I don't have any confirmation to, is I think she does go West Coast. I think she goes Pac-12. If I had to narrow it down, I'd probably say either Stanford or UCLA. Both are still top 25 programs. Both are Final Four contenders. She could be the star of either team, especially after Haley Jones went pro. So Stanford, she'd be the deadline against Cameron Brink.
Yeah, that's the only rumor I've heard. And
I could see Stanford's got Nike. I could see her dropping Adidas NIL to go Nike. I think UCLA runs some type of Jordan brand or Nike brand, so that's another one. Especially with her connections to Kobe and the NBA, I think she could get there.
ACC Adidas?
I thought they were having some Jordan brand looks on their jerseys in recent years.
All right, let me look.
Which maybe I
see
could
lots
be wrong.
of Adidas.
Which maybe they are Adidas. So she sticks with Adidas. Maybe she goes to UCLA.
She's got some deals with Adidas, and I think she's a big fan. And I don't want to spend too much time on her, but I do hope she stays out of our way until it's necessary, and then we send her home.
Yeah, I don't really want to see her in the regular season and watch her drop 25 points on us. So,
right.
So let's avoid the Pac-12 or West Coast teams if she does go that direction.
The saga of HVL will continue in our hearts and minds for a while, despite the fact that she's no longer on campus that I know of. What about IU? Grace Berger's gone. Is it possible she could go up I-65 North and land in Bloomington up there?
That'd be a step down. That would be a step down. No way.
Terry Moore, that great coach up there.
I mean, good team, good coach. I come back to my theory of market size. She wants to go to a place where she's going to get more visibility is totally my thinking on this. And so IU is not that. Bloomington is not that. So
and LSU,
Stanford would work for that.
Everybody's throwing LSU by the wayside, but then you've got scheming Kim Mulkey down there. A team that won the national championship. They didn't have too bad a year.
I just don't see her playing second fiddle to Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese.
And there you go.
I could be wrong, but I just don't get that vibe.
I don't either. I think the ship has sailed with Mulkey on her, but I don't see second fiddle anywhere, and that's what she would be in both of those places.
So we'll see what happens with her, and we'll certainly inform you whenever. I think she's due to announce next week, maybe, from what I saw.
I don't know that there's a specifically scheduled time, but I think people are expecting it within the week. Yeah.
I mean, she was a do not contact in the portal, which usually means they're pretty much decided.
Yeah.
Which I hate that. Don't say you're going to the portal if you've already have your decision. Just say you're transferring.
Well, yeah. Officially, the process is to enter the portal, so I get why they're saying it. But yeah, it's.
Which means there's probably some poaching going on before the season ended, but not going to get into that one today.
I say she skips college basketball altogether and becomes the business manager for the Cavender twins.
Whoa.
going into the WWE. Did you guys see
Jared
that?
wants in on that so bad. He's like licking his chops. He wants to be the official photographer.
Jared,
Oh,
the official photographer of the WWE and the Cavender twins.
I knew the WWE thing was coming a while back when WWE reached out because there's a lot more money there with an organization that I'm actually not a big fan of. But
And Haley has entered the ring with a hammer. Look at everybody. She's going to get some revenge. I think they go ahead and put in the tag team with Liz Dixon and Olivia Cochran. I think they would kill the Cavender twins in the ring. But anyway.
That'd be a first round knockout right there.
Bringing Maisha Hines Allen to coach the corner. She would enjoy that. So we have more interesting news as far as other sports on campus go. Hey, what about this softball team, gang? They obviously playing in the weirdest tournament format I've ever seen, where the home team in the tournament actually came to our place to play last night. How about that for fun? But Miami, Ohio came in. They were not welcome. They were not interested in being anything but a loser, as the Cards beat them 12-4 in 5 innings Friday night at Ulmer Stadium in the Miami of Ohio Invitational.
With let's make sure to get this because this is a great highlight, I think. With a walk-off steal of home.
Yeah, and I missed that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was somebody reached on an air and then went all the way around.
Yeah, ended up on third. I don't remember how she got on third. It was Easton Lotus, I think. Ended up on third, and it was a wild pitch. Got past the catcher, and so she zipped home real quick. She's pretty quick. So
she said that delay was too long. It's time to go home.
Yeah, because there was
feelings.
about an hour-long weather delay in this one.
Miami of Ohio was like, please just put us out of our misery so we can go back home to our tournament.
Yeah, they never did really get any rain out there, did they?
Not a single drop.
It was just lightning. No.
And while softball sat in a lightning delay, baseball continued to play.
I was gonna say,
I was wondering about that. It makes no sense. I guess the over at baseball just didn't see it. If you didn't see it, it didn't happen.
Well, they all run on an online system that they get reports of lightning strikes.
Yeah, and what I'm wondering is,
it must have been north.
It's a north or northeast, to where it was far enough away from baseball that it didn't matter for them. But
I mean, they're only half a mile through.
Yeah, I mean that's it.
I know they're pretty close, but it could have been just enough, I guess.
Yeah. So after the delay, Easton Lotus was the player who ended up getting a single.
It was okay.
Moving to second on a throwing error, and then moving to third, and then moving to home on a couple of wild pitches to make it 12-4, and hence the 8-run rule, and boom, game over. So it's got to be the weirdest game that Easton Lotus has won in her career, huh?
It's an odd way to win it, that's for sure.
She had a pretty good day. She had the bases clearing triple, and then she tied a program record of scoring 4 times in the game.
Yeah, this was one where the Cards, I think they scored in every inning, if I'm not mistaken, Jared. I know they put up a lot of runs, at least one run in each inning, the way I have looked at this thing. Okay.
1-4, 1-5-1.
You know what stood out to me? 12 hits, 12 runs, guys. No errors. Wow.
Yeah, that's getting people off the bases too, and I like that.
Efficiency.
At times, Holly has lamented the fact that they were leaving 2 or 3 runners on base per inning without getting them home. Pretty efficient work there last night for the Cards. Good to see Gabby Holloway pick up a win. She hasn't come back quite the strong pitcher she was her first time around in her career here at Louisville, but it was good to see her, against obviously a mid-major opponent, but still, going 2 and 2 innings of relief, 4 earned runs, but still getting the win. So a confident builder for her, maybe.
Yeah, that's been the biggest difference from last season and this season is just the pitching availability. I mean, obviously you've got Roby as your ace, but Alyssa Zabala is a strong freshman pitcher. Gabby Holloway's back in their rotation. Sam Boo's still out there pitching. Cassie Grizzard as a freshman has shown some nice innings. We still have Taja Felder available if need be. There's plenty of pitchers available that we don't have to put all the pressure on Roby like we did last year. And I think it's actually paying off in terms of Roby's batting.
I mean, I think Holly could pull Jared into the game if she needed to. I mean, he's out there.
Well, he could also take pictures and also pitch at the same time, couldn't he? Yeah.
Oh no,
You
I
can-
know all of our pitchers would strike me out in a heartbeat.
we didn't ask you to hit. We asked you to pitch.
We don't want you up at the plate. No, God, that would be scary. You trying to take pictures and bat at the same time? No.
Well, I'm a pretty good dart ball player, so that's underhand. I can try my
I think
my
you'll
chance
find a
with
little
the
difference there in that.
the
But anyway,
pitching too.
just a
This
little bit of difference there.
I think this game was a good one in the sense that that delay happened and Miami of Ohio had just kind of made it a ball game with that grand slam. Um, and I kind of joked in our group, like, why couldn't the Lightning happen before that, thinking it was going to be a close one the rest of the way. But the Cards picked up where they left off, said we don't have time for this, and held them to just that grand slam. I can't remember who got the credit for that. Was that Holloway who put them all on the bench? I don't know, but
Yes.
was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was Holloway, and then after that, it was a game that had 2 grand slams. How about
I know.
that?
So yeah, they had the same one and kind of equaled it out, kind of like cornhole. So basically, neither of them happened.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
How
Definitely
cool?
on the
How
list.
cool is that? Yeah, Sarah Gordon gets up and knocks one out.
Yeah, and I did miss it. I got tired of that waiting screen.
Yeah.
The ACC Network Extra puts on there, so I just kind of turned it off, and I don't know what I ended up doing. So I just checked back in this morning, saw that the score ended up being a blowout and in run rule fashion. So it's a good practice. We'll call it a practice game to get them ready for this big match today. I mean, even if they have a good showing today against the number 1 squad, I don't expect them to walk away with a win. But if they can still keep putting runs on the board, getting the bat on the ball, it's a good sign for this team moving into the second half of the season.
And certainly it is. I unfortunately didn't catch a single pitch of the game, and had a really rough Thursday night, which necessitated me going to bed early Friday night. And I was out before I saw your all's tweets the next day and everything, but I was kind of like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to stay up for this. And I was out a minute later, but much rested and needed. So a good deal for the Cards, who now in the Miami Invitational, and they now go back to Miami. How about that? They actually go to where the Invitational is going on. Miami, Ohio is going to stay here and play Bellarmine. No, I'm just kidding. I'm assuming they're going home too. I mean, I wouldn't think that.
I think they are home for the rest of the weekend.
Okay.
I cannot explain the back and forth and why they even came here for their own invitational. I'm not understanding it at all. I haven't heard anything.
I think it was one of those backroom deals where Holly said, okay, yeah, we'll name the invitation out of you, but I want a game here Friday night, okay? This is how it works.
And Sunday, twice.
And Sunday. And I want to play Oakland twice. Going from Oklahoma to Oakland in a very interesting move.
And is there no word why we're out of conference this time of the season?
So ACC has bye weeks for every team.
Yes, they do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this is
So
our
is
bye
this
week.
the coaching decision to try to get some extra swings and just some extra games?
Yeah, I mean, like I think Duke had their bye week a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't play anybody that week.
Yeah.
They just took the week off. So, it's a choice of what do you do with your bye week? I guess is the question. And
Okay.
so decided to, get some non-conference games in. So.
And you know how they say, like, when you play these games, sometimes the team ends up paying a bunch of money to do it or whatever. I wonder who got paid in this series.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably
I
Miami.
wonder what they had to pay Oklahoma to come to Miami.
Yeah.
To Oxford. I'm sure there had to be some dollars laid down there. What do you think? I mean, it's like, you guys come on in to Oxford, Ohio. You'll love it. And Oklahoma's like, huh? Okay. How much was that worth? So, anyway, the Cards taking on Oklahoma today at 4 p.m. up there in the Miami Invitational Tournament in Oxford, Ohio. There is no actual city of Miami in Ohio.
Yes, now I know that.
We did determine that, as Jeff was giving us a geography lesson earlier, and we appreciated that. We'll see what happens here. I mean, some things that did happen last night. I think a couple things that are pretty interesting is that Corby Otis likes to hit the ball. She's been on base safely, in the
For-
last 32 games.
There's 32. I know it's 30 plus.
It is now 32, which ties the program record. She
Yeah.
oh,
Marissa Becker.
has the opportunity to. Yes, you're correct on that one. Marissa Becker is the other one that held this record on her own for many years, and Corby's got an opportunity today to make it 33. It's going to be a tall task with Oklahoma, who's just incredible ball club there. Love to see it. It looks like the offense has kind of gotten rolling again a little bit recently. I think yesterday might have been, if nothing else, just a momentum builder to keep going in further into the weekend, beating the daylights out of Miami, Ohio. You take that grand slam off the board, and I thought it was extremely productive outing overall, defensively and from the pitching staff. And as Daryl mentioned earlier, 0 errors is big because the errors have kind of been what's killer in some of the games recently. And I feel like that's always a key factor. It's keys to winning the game. Limit your errors. And
then if you're Otis, you maybe just lean in on the first pitch and get hit by one, so you can extend the streak. Hey, the streak's
no,
still alive.
For the team.
Is it getting?
Don't feel too good if you get hit. So
Yeah. And is the record getting on base, or is the record getting it
It's
hit?
actually hits or walks.
Hits or
just
walks.
reaching base safely.
Reaching base safely. Okay.
If you're hit by a pitch, that's getting the base
counts,
safely,
yeah.
isn't it? I would think.
Yeah.
If you can get the pitcher into enough pitch clock violations or something.
And when Marissa Becker set that record back, I think it was in 2015, I believe. And people were just plunking her out of meanness because when she went to that plate, remember that scowl she would get on her face? Normally a very pleasant girl to talk to. Enjoyed many interviews I did with her. But when she stepped into that batter's box, she got a scowl on her face that looked like, if you throw me anything even close to me, I'm going to drill it right back down the middle and knock you out of that circle and then throw my bat at you afterwards. She just had that look on her face when she went to the plate. Like,
To be fair, Paul, she did take up a lot of room in that batter's box. She was
well,
not a
and
small
she
person.
did. I mean, Marissa was definitely not one that would try on petite dresses at the fashion shop. No,
No.
she had
No knock on her. She definitely commanded the field.
a lot of good strength and size behind her, and was a heck of a pitcher in addition to being a good batter too. So
Indeed.
one of
I
those
think if
deals.
you're a pitcher, you're like, I'd rather hit her than have her put one over the fence.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So if she's not getting anything good out of me, if it gets a little too far inside, so be it. I put her on first. That's better than watching her trot around all 3 bases, right? So Taylor Roby, another good hitting pitcher, of course, as well. So
I was wondering, is Taylor going to get the start in the circle today, you think?
Jared was saying maybe Zabala. Is that?
Yeah. That's
we
my
saw
suspect.
Roby pitch yesterday.
For a couple innings, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, Roby is more than fresh, but it's also one of those as a coaching philosophy, do you understand that your chances of winning today are slim and you try and save everything for tomorrow with try and get 2 wins? Because a loss to Oklahoma is not going to do anything to you when it comes down to tournament selection time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a win would obviously boost you up a lot, but a loss to them, the committee's not going to look at that and be like, oh, they lost to Oklahoma, we're kicking them out of the bubble. Now, if you turn around and you drop 1 or 2 to Oakland tomorrow, the committee may be like, well, they're dropping some home games to non-Power 5 opponents. That has a little more a factor. So I'm curious to see how Holly April approaches this.
Could be fun indeed to see how that turns out. And that one on the ACC Network Extra, another kind of surprise to me with the Cards being on the road, yet actually getting this game on the ACC Network Extra. So,
And I'm looking at their schedule, and they haven't given up a run in 2 weeks. So we're going to have some work to do.
I think Otis goes up, gets plunked, steals second, and now we'll see what happens.
And Oklahoma is playing. They are playing top 25 ranked teams pretty regularly, guys. This might get scary. I just hope it's not a run rule, and get some runs on the board, and that would be a success.
If softball is not going to be your cup of tea today, though, so to speak, head on out to the Louisville Lacrosse Stadium because it is senior day out there for Scott Teeter's Lax squad. They're bringing in Duke for the festivities. This one, 1 o'clock start. A 1 o'clock start today. on the Louisville campus, as the Cards will be celebrating a total of, what is it, 11 seniors I saw?
11 seniors, officially senior day recognition ceremony starts at 12:40. Uh, get there early because parking is going to be tough between that going on. Track and field's commanding a lot of parking. The women's soccer scrimmage may pull in some parking. Baseball plans can pull in parking. So
Volleyball has an exhibition match.
yeah, parking's going to be a little tough. Plus, if you're trying to park on the street at a meter, you still got to pay. So
Yeah.
you may want to try and get there a little early and be prepared to walk a bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking football field would be your best key there. Either grab that one, or you could park over there behind the parish house over there, and a house of cards back
Yeah, it's
over
a good
there.
spot. Just got to deal with the potential trains.
Just crossing the street would be your key on that one, but yeah, you could do that. This should be fun. As Teeter's not obviously having the season that he wants with the squad. They're currently 4-10. They're 1-6 in the ACC. Lost a heartbreaker on Wednesday up at Cincinnati, Jeff, and that was just one that we had never been defeated by Cincinnati in the history of the series.
Yeah, it's a little bit eye opening. It was an overtime. They tied at the end of regulation. Overtime, sudden death overtime that lacrosse does play. So, but it was it's a little concerning to see that. Honestly, it's a little bit of a heartbreaker. We want to see this team do well. And it's been a struggle. So, early in the season, I thought I was seeing some improvement, and now I'm not so sure. So, we'll see what happens.
Indeed, we will. As Jared, like we mentioned, 11 seniors. It's kind of running down the list of who is leaving here, going to be honored here. Hannah Moore stands out. Certainly one who's had a fantastic career here during her time. Allegra Catalano, very good attacker, came to us out of Florida. Maggie Foster, a great defender. Izzy Holmes, another good attacker. And Maddie McKee, our draw control specialist, and an attacker as well. Then, of course, we can't forget Nicole Peroni, who's a midfielder for the Cards. She's also leaving, and you know this probably a little better than I do, Jared, but man, it looks like we're going to be leaving this cupboard awfully bare after these 11 seniors are gone.
Yeah, a lot of them, as you just mentioned, see a ridiculous amount of playing time, so you're going to have big holes to fill next season. There's a couple seniors on this list that have been plagued with some injuries, so we haven't gotten a chance to really watch them. A few of these were ones that were using their COVID year, such as Hannah Moore. So a few of them are electing not to use their COVID year as career opportunities and future educational opportunities are there for them.
They're not all going pro in lacrosse?
I'm not sure the U.S. is quite there. But no, there's going to be a lot of big shoes to fill next year. I think Teeter's got a lot of work to do with both the recruiting and maybe even the transfer portal. We don't see as many lacrosse transfers as we do with sports such as basketball, but they do pop up every once in a while. But, I mean, it's a decorated senior class, and I think they deserve every ounce of recognition that possible. A lot of these seniors were actually recruited by Kelly Young back in the day, and they kept their commitment through all the changes. And with Scott Teeter coming in, I think you need to both appreciate and respect them for doing so.
Quick look at the series as the Blue Devils leading the series 8-1 with the Cards getting a win back in 2017 at Louisville, which I do believe we were not members of the ACC in 2017, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
We became members officially for the 2014 to 15 school year, my junior year in college.
In the ACC?
Yeah.
We were
Yeah,
Big
I
East my
remember that.
freshman year, AAC sophomore year, and ACC.
It is amazing how long ago it was, wasn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, because I did not think we had a win in the ACC, but it's showing that we beat Duke back then. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm confused now. But they did play last year then in Durham, and Hannah Morris and Nicole Peroni each had hat tricks. Unfortunately, the Cards dropped that one 16-12. So uh, we've discussed about it before in group chats. I've had some readers at Cardinal Couple. I've had some other emails and stuff that are kind of asking me the question that's maybe in all of our minds. Was Teeter viable for a long-standing coach at this program? Uh, I love the guy to death. I think he's the best thing that could have happened to us after the Kelly Young debacle. But unfortunately, as Jeff Walls has said many a time, wins keep you in a job. Wins are job security. If you're not winning, you don't have job security. Uh, Daryl, what's the book here?
Yeah, and that's kind of the way of the world these days. And it's just like you said, he came in at a very a bad time in our program's history, and he kind of stepped into that role and hit the ground running. And you got to thank him for taking it on, because it's probably not an easy thing to do. But coaches, they kind of fill their roles, and then they take, sometimes it runs its course. And he's in his sixth season, and it's just not been as successful as some people would like to see. Unfortunately, um, it's just one of those things that maybe it's run its course and time to move on. And we thank him for everything he's done. But I mean, I'm pretty used to seeing a losing schedule for lacrosse. I know that it's in a tough conference, and it's not easy to get these wins. But that one against Cincinnati this week, it's probably really hurts. Hopefully they can use it to bounce back today and get a conference win. But it's just one of those things, like maybe it's run its course. Like Taylor Swift said this week, the relationship has just run its course, and it's time to say goodbye. And ironically, they were together for 6 years. We've been together with Teeter for 6 years. Coincidence? I think not.
We're going to see Taylor Swift and Scott Teeter joined up as a WWE pair who will be taking on the Cavendish sisters later on.
Oh my God.
Somewhere, which could be
You
fun.
went there.
I would like to see that. No. Uh, Jared, there's some players on this team that we really love to death. Catalano being one of them for sure. Who's just poured her whole heart and soul into this program. Obviously, Hannah Morris, the wonderful things she's done. Nicole Peroni, three standout players on this program that have led this program. Seeing them go, seeing them disappear. Is Teeter's book due here?
I think Daryl pretty much hit that spot on. This is year 6, and we're not seeing, I guess, the improvement and advancement in the program as we had hoped to see at this point in terms of your wins. And in the end, I mean, it really is. What have you done for me? How many wins are you getting? What's your success rate been like? And I think that's where it's gonna hurt him most. And I know he came in into a really difficult situation, and on top of that, dealing with COVID-19, and I think maybe that's why UofL's been so patient up to this point. But I mean, it's been
Sure.
6 years. I mean, maybe he'll get himself the 7th year. I'm not sure how patient Josh Hurd is going to be, as opposed to Tom Jurich. Didn't have as much patience with coaches. So
Vince Tyree definitely didn't.
Right. So we'll have to play by ear on this one. I think he may get one more shot, but I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Hurd looks a different direction.
And the other thing is if you're not winning games, and like, how are you going to get recruits to commit to you? Good ones, at least. It's just kind of a domino effect, and unfortunately, this is just the way of the business.
I know in conversations I've had with Teeter, he always mentioned the fact that recruiting was a snap for him now, that he could advertise that if you came to Louisville, you would get to play against some of the best players in college lacrosse in the ACC conference.
Yeah, it does help. Absolutely.
it definitely helped him on the recruiting trail. Maybe these schools got a sniff and a rub from a North Carolina or somebody like that, but didn't quite, get invited to the school. But they could go to Louisville and maybe get their revenge and play them later on in the season, or just play because they wanted to play against an ACC opponent. Uh, it's a tough one. Scott Teeter's a good man, and there are absolutely no discrepancies or fallacies about his program whatsoever. He shoots you straight. He tells you the way it is, and you go ahead and basically do the work. He's got a great assistant coaching staff. Uh, it's a tough one to see. A tough one to see indeed. I just got to hope that he can maybe win a couple here at the end of the season and maybe win a couple in the ACC tournament and save what looks like to be that impending knock on the door, guys. A knock that I hope doesn't happen. So let's hope that they can pull one out today against Duke. And if you can get on out there too, are you going to shoot any of that one, Jared?
Yeah, I'll be there for at least the first half of lacrosse. Depending how things are going, I may bounce on over to baseball. We'll kind of play by ear, but I definitely want to be there for at least the start of lacrosse and try and get the seniors a little bit if possible.
Yeah, and certainly take care of that and get that handled.
And I got my sunscreen ready to go.
There it is, because it is a sunny day, a bright sunny day here in Louisville. Probably no lightning strikes will be worrying anybody on campus today. One other news, volleyball's got some news going on here. Jeff, we found out that through the portal, the Cards have gotten a pretty decent player and that they're going to go back to the Yum Center next year for 3 big contests.
Yeah, we got two pieces of news this week. The first was the addition of Brigitte Petrenko. This wasn't completely news. We kind of knew it was coming, and at least people that pay attention to the volleyball world in depth. So most people didn't. The news this week is that it's actually official. She's on campus, I think is what that means. So the transfer has actually happened. She's I think 6-foot setter, graduate student setter. She is Hungarian for what it's worth. So I'll be double checking with her on how to pronounce her name to make sure I get it right. It's not, we've seen it's not uncommon for Danny Besson-Kelly to pull in some senior setting experience over the past few years. Tori Dolfer, then Raquel Latharo last year. So, so that isn't too terribly shocking to a lot of people, but certainly there were a lot of questions about who was going to be our starting setter between Ellie Glock and Alexis Finvold. I think Ellie Glock was kind of settling into the role a little bit, but this kind of reopens that a little bit, that discussion. So we'll see where that goes. The other thing is obviously the announcement of 3 matches this season going to be down at the KFC Yum Center. This has been in the works. They're working to do this. They're working to expand the numbers that are down there. I think they were shooting for 3 initially and then maybe expand that over time. And it's one of the ones is your Pitt. Stanford, I think, is coming in.
If I remember correctly, it was Pitt, it was Kentucky, and Notre Dame.
Is it Notre Dame? That doesn't seem right to me, but it could be. I'm forgetting which ones were.
That's just what I remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I know Pitt was on there. I know Kentucky was on there.
Yeah, okay.
I think the third was Notre Dame, but I'm trying to look back to what day that article was written, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull it up here too as well.
But in any event, 3 down there at the Yum. I think they said you could
The third
pre-order
one
tickets.
is Stanford, by the way.
Oh, it is Stanford?
Okay. Yeah.
Kentucky and Stanford are within about 4 days of each other in September. Pitt's in October. But Notre Dame was this past season.
Okay, really good. Good deal. So 3 good volleyball matches there, kids. Get on ahead and catch those. I think tickets start, at 15, but they've got packages and deals available.
Yeah, and there is a 3-game package for the matches at the KFC Yum Center. And these are in addition, I believe, to the 12 home matches that have been announced for LNN FCU. So pretty good home slate this year. So
fun for the Cards in volleyball, and that'll be coming up. We also had some. the news that came down, Jared reported to us on Tuesday about our Spirit Squad and also our Ladybirds and going out and getting some things done out there in the Nationals, huh?
Yeah, good trip down to Daytona for the NCA, which is cheer, and NDA, which is dance, hence the C and the D. Nationals down in Daytona. All girl squad with their ninth straight championship. Both the small co-ed and large co-ed squads with second place finishes. Ladybirds, their team group, second place finish. I mean, it was a hair off from being champions. The Jazz group, their first time in confirmed over 20 years, so kind of a trial run for them. They finished 11th. And then Hip Hop, who's always been successful, got fourth. And then some of the four-person stunt groups, the highest finish for some of those was second place. So another just incredible outing for them. They all compete at the advanced level, which is the highest level possible. You'll see a lot of your Division I squads compete at intermediate level, which is a little bit lower down. The UofL is not going to settle for we can win at intermediate level. We're going to go against the best of the best. So that's why they may not be winning championships every year.
So certainly the best there. We also had the WNBA draft earlier in the week. No Cardinals were selected in those first three rounds and that, but we have heard some news after the fact where Liz Dixon was invited to try out in the training camp with the Phoenix Mercury. Could be some fun as she and Kylie Shook will be back down there. Reunited again along with Brittany Griner on that team. Wow. That would be three tough centers to have to face if you were playing on another team, wouldn't it?
I think it's a great situation for her. I think a lot of women's basketball players relate. They didn't relate to Brittany Griner, but they could feel for her. I don't think anybody could relate to what she actually went through, but I think that she inspired a lot of people, a lot of players with her. Um, just being able to make it through that. It was 9 months is a long time. You don't know if you're leaving. So I think that Liz could get some inspiration from both Griner and Kylie Shook. I think that the comfortability of um Kylie being there, and maybe Kylie will help her out, show her the ropes, make her feel welcome. Because I think Liz is kind of a shy player at first before she um, breaks in out of her mold and finds um, her path, and she could challenge her. Kylie's probably pretty familiar with her as a player as well, and just challenge her to be her best and make the best of this opportunity. So I think it's a great situation for Liz.
Interesting that they do list Liz as a forward also, and
Ooh.
the other two as centers, and there are only like two or three forwards listed on that Mercury roster. So perhaps there could be a possibility where they keep her when they go to a powered forward set in that. Not being a real familiar with the way the WNBA does all that other stuff, I'm sure there are some very good power forwards out there. And we will get into final thoughts in just a second here, but I think we would be remiss if we did not talk about the Monday tragedy we had here in Louisville, where unfortunately 5 individuals lost their lives at the old National Bank shooting down on Main Street next to Louisville Slugger Field, where a former employee went into the building with an AK-47 and opened fire before the bank opened.
As
And
somebody
yeah,
who
where
was
did you go? Yeah,
works over there, Monday was awful. I'm at work on U of L's campus, messaging my people that work down in that area, making sure everything's okay. I have people hitting me up because I have a brother-in-law in LMPD. Just a very awful, stressful day. Luckily, did not affect me with losing somebody, but it's definitely affected me. It's hitting closer to home, and it just made for a very distracting day. They ended up canceling classes at U of L and closing campus so staff could go home. And I'm appreciative of that because I couldn't focus on work when you have people emailing you, asking you very, very stupid, mundane questions, and you have very serious things going on. It's just one of those things where you got to go home and just call it a day because I need to breathe. So I'll go back to the bats next week and see the boarded up windows and the flowers and memoriams, and I'm thankful it didn't exactly affect me, but I know that it affected this community, and I'm sorry to anybody that it did. And it didn't just affect the 5 people that lost their lives; it's the people that work around it. It's the medical staff, the first responders, the community itself. It's just makes it. We've got big events coming up: Derby, Thunder over Louisville. It's just one of those things that you can't stop living your life, but when you could potentially lose your life by living it, it makes your head spin, and it's time to do something about it.
It does indeed.
That's
It
my
does
final thought.
indeed. And Daryl was to just chimed in with her final thought and also summing that up a little bit, Jeff. This is something that certainly took us all unawares, but it kind of speaks volumes about the AK-47. And does it really need to be a gun that's available pretty readily if you can get a gun license?
Yeah, I obviously want to be careful of straying too far into things that might be political, but yeah, there's definitely um, the to me what struck me was, and I work my day job, I work from my home, I'm way out in the suburbs, so not directly impacted by it, but I was struck as soon as I heard about the shooting. The immediate thing I thought of was Standard Gravure. That was 34 years ago.
Right.
Was one of the first workplace shootings that we really knew about. Um, and to have that come kind of full circle was certainly, I don't want to say eye opening because Standard Gravure was eye opening, but was, I think, poignant to think about that. Gosh, this happened again here now. So yeah, um, it's frustrating to say the least. Yeah.
Jeff, and that's the thing is this shouldn't be political. The only reason it's political is
Yeah.
because the politicians are ignoring this very concerning issue that clearly has been going on for decades and doing literally nothing for a
Yeah.
payday. So that's what the only reason it's political.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with that 100%. The sadness of it is that innocent people gunned down had no idea that morning when they woke up that that was going to happen to them. No warning signs. The first warning sign came through is when this guy's roommate actually texted this guy's mother and said, "Hey, there's a problem. He's headed downtown with guns." So what do we do? What do we do in society with this? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't know how you solve it until you make the guns maybe not a viable thing for people like that. I mean, but then again, people will argue that with you too because it's their constitutional right to bear arms. So, uh, Jared, your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, how many lives is your gun worth? Is the first question that needs to be asked to a lot of these people. I mean, I get that you want to express your right to own a gun, but with some of these weapons that you really don't need. I mean, they're not hunting weapons. You don't need these types of weapons for self defense in your own home. They really were designed just to cause mass destruction. Like, how many people need to die before you're like, okay, I'm willing to give up this gun because it's causing too many issues. And the more I think about it, the more I think you need also concern with UofL games. The security at a lot of these games is slim to none, minus a clear bag check. So anybody could really bring anything in, especially in colder games when you're bundled up in a coat and pants. And I would certainly like to see UofL maybe reevaluate some of their security protocols. I think you even need to reference back to the bomb threat at baseball last season and maybe figure some stuff out too. We have plenty of friends and family and connections that are at UofL games, and we don't want to put any of them at risk. And I think maybe we should go ahead and look at taking some extra steps there.
True words indeed, and yeah, certainly something that I think maybe will cause civic leaders and community leaders and also people that stage big events to kind of take a look and say, and especially with Derby coming up, what a disaster and a tragedy it would be if anything happened during that 2-3 week long period. Let's hope that nothing does, and let's first of all just kind of say a prayer for those that were left behind, because there are a lot of families and a lot of friends of those families that are hurting now because true family members were senselessly shot down and killed, and that is the saddest part of it all. Because somebody had to carry out an agenda. That's silly, folks. But what can we do about it? We can't control human beings' thought processes. We can only try to get them help. I think that's pretty well does it as far as final thoughts go from everybody, unless somebody else has something they want to kind of toss in there at the end of this. Anybody?
Just to throw out quickly, volleyball exhibition match this evening. Match starts at 6, gates open at 5. Get there early if you're coming, because there is a big club volleyball tournament happening at the fairgrounds, and there will be lots of those teams coming out to watch. And people got stuck outside last year and couldn't get in because it was a capacity. So
Almost a shame they couldn't have moved this one downtown to the Center, right? Let's see. Volleyball tonight then. Catch it then. If you can't get in, I think AC Network Extra will have
Nope.
this. No?
Nope.
No viewing of this. Okay.
None whatsoever.
So you could stand outside and listen to the roars and the yells, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
We may get Jeff to do a Facebook live stream if we're done.
Well, not Facebook, but
I'm thinking we just get him to get on his cell phone and just give you a call, Jared, and you can broadcast it to the world. How about that?
I haven't logged into Facebook in years, but maybe something else.
Sadly, no volleyball for me tonight. It's a date night, so I'll follow along on Jeff's tweets.
So there you go. Obviously, you got the Cracker Barrel card I sent you then, and you'll be dining there, right? No, I'm just kidding. Have fun with it indeed, and then we hope that all of our listeners have a good week. Certainly a healing type of a week as we go into the second week of this, but just remember that we're all in this together. And if you know somebody's down, somebody's not feeling so great about things and stuff like that, sometimes a very friendly word, a very friendly ear can do wonders to help somebody through a situation. So be that good guy or gal. Listen. Okay? That's all you need to do is listen sometimes, folks. Thanks for listening to us, and certainly we'll catch you next week, 11 a.m. for another edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Until then, go Cards.